The roar of the crowd hit me like a linebacker before I even saw the man step out of that gleaming black Escalade. "Alex, you gotta see this. It's him," whispered Mia from the sidelines, her voice slicing through the pre-game chaos like a referee's whistle. But I was already frozen, heart slamming against my ribs as our eyes locked across the dew-slick field. In that split second, the world narrowed to the way his jaw tightened, the sponsor's polished facade cracking just enough to reveal the ghost of a boy I'd buried with Coach 2 years ago. I never thought grief could ambush you at a tailgate party. But there he was, Ethan Hale, the tech mogul whose name had been splashed across donor plaques for months, striding onto Eldridge University's football field like he owned the turf. And in a way, he did now. The late afternoon sun slanted across the crimson banners flapping in the crisp October breeze, casting long shadows that danced over the alumni milling about with plastic cups of cheap beer and dreams of glory days. Eldridge was one of those mid-tier Midwest schools, the kind where cornfields butt up against the bleachers, and the fight song still mentioned Heartland heroes, unironically. I'd come back here after Coach's funeral not to coach. God. No, I wasn't built for that clipboard life, but to keep his legacy breathing, running the youth outreach program he'd poured his soul into. Kids from the rougher parts of town, the ones who saw football as a ticket out, not just a game. It was supposed to be my quiet redemption, piecing together the man I'd loved in secret while the world mourned him as a legend. But Ethan? He was the wild card no one saw coming. The university had hyped his unannounced visit for weeks, whispers of a 7-figure sponsorship to revamp the facilities, maybe even name the new wing after Coach Harlan Reeves. "It's gonna change everything," the dean had gushed in our staff meeting that morning, his tie askew like always. I'd nodded along, forcing a smile while my stomach twisted. Ethan Hale. The name alone dragged up memories I duct-taped shut. Late-night practices under stadium lights, Coach's gravelly laugh echoing off the goalposts, and the one reckless summer when Ethan, then a starry-eyed freshman quarterback, had blurred the lines between mentor and something more forbidden. He froze mid-stride, his custom loafers sinking into the grass as if the earth itself had grabbed him. The crowd parted instinctively, people always do for money in a suit, and for a heartbeat it was just us. Me in my faded Eldridge hoodie, sleeves rolled up against the chill, clipboard tucked under my arm like a shield. Him, all sharp angles and quiet power. His dark hair silvered at the temples now, but those hazel eyes, still the same, stormy with unspoken storms. The air between us hummed, thick as the bonfire smoke curling from the grills nearby. Then someone clapped him on the back. A booster in a too-tight polo, and the spell shattered. Ethan blinked, straightened his tie, and kept walking toward the podium. But I swear, his gaze flicked back to me twice before he turned away. Mia tugged my elbow, her ponytail swinging like a metronome. "Dude, you look like you saw a ghost. Who's the silver fox?" She was the program's assistant coordinator, all 23 and fierce optimism, the kind of straight ally who baked rainbow cookies for pride without making it weird. I forced a chuckle, but it came out ragged. "Old ghost, yeah. From Coach's era." She didn't press. Bless her. But her eyes narrowed, filing it away for later dissection over pizza. The announcement went off without a hitch. Ethan took the mic with that easy charisma that had probably closed billion-dollar deals. His voice steady as he talked about investing in the next generation and honoring unsung heroes like Harlan. My throat tightened at the name. Harlan. Coach to the world, but to me, the man who'd pulled me out of my own wreckage at 18, fresh-faced and lost, running from a Bible Belt family that'd rather pray away my confusion than hug it. He'd seen me, really seen me, on the sidelines during my volunteer stint, fumbling through drills like I was dodging landmines. "Kid," he'd said, clapping a hand on my shoulder that lingered just a second too long. "Football ain't about the hits you take. It's about the ones you stand back up from." That touch had been my first crack in the armor, the spark that ignited everything we'd never say aloud. Ethan's speech wrapped with applause that rattled the goalposts. And then the real circus began. Photo ops, handshakes, the dean herding him toward the donor lounge like a prized steer. I should have slipped away, blended into the throng of face-painted fans chanting the alma mater. But my feet betrayed me. carrying me toward the edge of the field where the VIP tents fluttered like surrender flags. Maybe it was masochism, or maybe some part of me needed to know if he'd remember. If he'd look at me and see more than the kid who'd shadowed Harlan like a stray. He did. Cornered by a cluster of suits, Ethan's eyes found mine again over a sea of outstretched hands. This time he excused himself. Polite but firm, the way alphas do, and wove through the crowd. Up close, he smelled like cedar and expensive regret, his cologne cutting through the grill smoke. "Alex," he said, low enough that only I could hear. His voice a gravelly echo of the boy who'd once whispered secrets in the equipment shed. "It's been, God, too long." I swallowed hard, the clipboard digging into my palm. "Ethan Hale. Big shot now, huh? Sponsor of the hour." It came out sharper than I meant, laced with the bitterness I'd marinated in since Harlan's heart gave out mid-practice, collapsing on the 50-yard line like the universe had called foul. Ethan winced just a flicker, but I caught it. "I read about Harlan. The whole world did. I'm sorry. For all of it. All of it." The words hung there, heavy as the championship ring Harlan had slipped onto my finger in a fever dream of a night we'd both pretended never happened. No, we hadn't crossed that line. Not fully, not with the power imbalance screaming no from every angle, but the tension? It had simmered, unspoken and electric, until Ethan transferred out after sophomore year, chasing scouts and glory at a bigger program. He'd left without a backward glance, or so I'd told myself to survive the ache. "Don't," I said, stepping back as a photographer hovered nearby. "Not here." But my voice cracked, betraying the lie. I wanted to hate him for freezing like that, for dredging up the what-ifs I'd buried with Harlan. Instead, I just felt raw, exposed under the stadium lights that were flickering on as dusk crept in. He nodded, slipping a card into my hand. Crisp stock, embossed with his name and a number that screamed private jet. "Dinner. Tomorrow. My treat. We need to talk about the program, about..." He trailed off, eyes searching mine like he was mapping a battlefield. "About why I'm really here." I pocketed the card without promising a damn thing. But as he walked away, swallowed by the crowd, I couldn't shake the chill racing up my spine. Unannounced, yeah. But that freeze? It wasn't surprise. It was recognition. And in the heartland, where secrets fester like untreated wounds, recognition could unravel everything I'd stitched together. The next morning dawned too bright, the kind of Midwest sun that turns frost-kissed windows into prisms and makes you squint at your regrets. I'd barely slept, replaying that moment on the field like a bad highlight reel. Ethan's pause, the way his hand had twitched like he wanted to reach out. By noon, I was pacing my cramped apartment on the edge of campus. The one Harlan had helped me sublet after his diagnosis turned our friendship into a vigil. The place still smelled like his aftershave, Old Spice, unapologetically dadcore, and the fridge held Tupperware of meatloaf from well-meaning neighbors who'd long since stopped dropping by. Mia's text buzzed my phone. "Spill. Who is he? And why do you look like you swallowed a lemon in that pic from last night?" I'd forwarded her a blurry shot from the event, Ethan mid-speech, but she'd zeroed in on my haunted expression like a hawk. I typed back a deflection, just an old teammate. Nothing juicy to. But my thumb hovered over Ethan's card, propped against the coffee mug Harlan had chipped during a Super Bowl watch party. Why was he really here? The sponsorship made sense on paper. Ethan Hale, Silicon Valley wunderkind turned philanthropist, funneling his app fortune into sports equity programs. His TED Talk on leveling the playing field for underdogs had gone viral last year, all earnest charm and data slides. But Eldridge? We were peanuts to a guy like him. Unless it was personal. Unless Harlan's death had yanked him back, same as it had me. I called the number before I could talk myself out of it. His voice answered on the second ring, warm and clipped like a boardroom close. "Alex, you came around." "Dinner," I said, no preamble. Neutral ground. That Italian place off Route 9, the one with the garlic knots that could kill a vampire. A pause, then a soft laugh that twisted something in my chest. 7. I'll send a car. No car. I drive. Independence was my armor these days, rusted but reliable. The restaurant was a hole-in-the-wall relic, neon sign buzzing Bella Italia, over checkered tablecloths and Chianti bottles gathering dust as candle holders. I'd picked it for the anonymity. Booths tucked away, locals nursing plates of spaghetti without prying eyes. Ethan arrived on foot, surprisingly, his wool overcoat slung over one arm like he was just another professor blowing off steam. He looked human, tired around the edges, the kind of wear that money can't Botox away. We ordered carbonara for me, risotto for him, and danced around the small talk like it was a minefield. The weather, brisk, promising snow. The game, Eldridge pulled a miracle upset, 24-21. Then, inevitably, Harlan. I followed his career, Ethan said, swirling his wine without drinking. The candlelight caught the facets of the glass, throwing flecks across his face. After I left, I kept tabs. Sent cards on the anniversaries of those state titles. I stabbed my fork into the pasta, the creamy sauce suddenly cloying. Why'd you leave then? Scouts or not, you ghosted. Harlan asked about you for years. How's that golden arm doing? He'd say, like it was casual, but it gutted him. Ethan's fork paused midway to his mouth, risotto trembling. It wasn't ghosting, it was survival. His voice dropped, the booth feeling smaller, the hum of the jukebox. Springsteen crooning about Born to Run ghosts, fading to white noise. You know what it was like back then. Small town, big dreams, and a coach who. He met my eyes, unflinching. Who made you feel seen? Too seen. I transferred because staying meant blowing it all up. For him, for the team, for me. The admission landed like a blindside tackle, knocking the air from my lungs. Too seen. Harlan had that gift, or curse. Drawing you out until your secrets spilled like loose laces. With Ethan, the prodigy recruit from a broken home, it had been father-son mentorship laced with something sharper, unspoken. I'd watched it unfold from the volunteer bench, jealous in ways I couldn't name yet. And me? Harlan had pulled me into his orbit after my folks shipped me off to straighten out at a conversion camp that had left scars deeper than turf burns. Your family now, he'd growled, handing me a playbook like it was a lifeline. Family. The word had cloaked everything. The late-night talks in his office, the brush of knuckles during film sessions, the ache that built until his illness forced us to name it, in whispers as love unclaimed. I get it, I said finally, pushing my plate away. Fear's a hell of a blocker. But you being back now, sponsoring the program he built, feels like unfinished business. Ethan leaned forward, elbows on the table, the risotto forgotten. It is. Harlan reached out last year, email out of the blue. Said he was sick, wanted to know if I'd consider investing, not just money, time, legacy. His voice thickened, and I saw it then, the crack in the mogul, the boy who'd idolized Harlan like a god. I said yes. Too late. By the time I booked the flight, he was gone. The words hollowed me out. Harlan had never mentioned it, but then he'd shielded me from the worst, even as chemo hollowed his cheeks. He didn't tell me? I murmured, tracing the tablecloth's red and white checks. Probably didn't want to drag ghosts into his goodbye. We sat in that ache for a while, the jukebox shifting to Dylan. Tangled up in blue, and something shifted in the air, electric and tentative. Ethan's hand brushed mine as he reached for the bread basket, and neither of us pulled away. Not fully. This program, he said, voice steadying. It's his heart. I want to make it beat louder. With you. The offer hung there, laced with subtext I wasn't ready to unpack. Partnership. Redemption. Or maybe just two men orbiting the same lost star, grasping for gravity. I nodded, because what else could I do? All right, but no bullshit, Ethan. We're building for the kids, not chasing shadows. He smiled then, small and real, the kind that crinkled his eyes. Deal. As we stepped out into the night, the parking lot slick with the first spit of rain, I felt the pull dangerous, magnetic. Harlan's ghost lingered in the taillights of my beat-up Civic, but for the first time in years, it didn't feel like haunting. Felt like permission. The weeks blurred into a rhythm I'd forgotten I craved. purpose laced with possibility. Ethan's sponsorship hit like a thunderclap. Cranes rolled onto campus by mid-November, erecting a state-of-the-art training center dubbed the Harlan Reeves Youth Wing. Brass plaques gleamed. Kids' artwork from the program splashed across the walls in murals of charging linebackers and soaring passes. I dove in headfirst, coordinating clinics and scholarships, Mia at my side with her endless clipboards and coffee runs. "This is huge, Alex," she'd say, eyes shining as we watched a dozen inner-city teens lace up cleats that actually fit. Harlan would be proud. And Ethan? He was there more than his calendar allowed. Flying in from San Francisco on Fridays, shedding the suit for jeans and a team hoodie that hung loose on his frame. We'd pore over blueprints in the drafty athletic office, debating turf versus grass like it was poetry. "Real men play on mud," he'd tease, echoing Harlan's old line, and I'd fire back with stats on injury rates, our laughter echoing off the cinderblock walls. It was easy, too easy, the way we fell into sync. Dinners stretched into midnight drives along the river, windows down to let the chill bite, talking everything from blockchain ethics to the sting of coming out in locker rooms that reeked of acts and denial. One night, under a sky pricked with stars like stadium lights, he cracked open. "I never stopped thinking about him," Ethan admitted. The truck idling on a gravel overlook, the Wabash rolling black below. "Or you. That summer after my freshman year, you were everywhere, quiet fire on the sidelines. Harlan's shadow, but brighter." My pulse thrummed, the dashboard glow casting his face in blues and golds. I was a mess, fresh off the Pray the Gay Away circuit, thinking football could fix what family broke. I hesitated, the words sticking like wet cleats. Harlan fixed the rest, gave me a place. And you were the sun he orbited, all potential and light. Ethan turned, his hand finding mine on the gearshift. Warm, steady, no pretense. I was scared. Of him. Of this. His thumb traced my knuckles, a question in the touch. The air thickened, charged with the rain scent and river mist, and I leaned in, our breaths mingling before lips met, soft, searching. Like coming home to a house you'd only visited in dreams. It wasn't fire. It was hearth. Slow kisses that tasted of Chianti and second chances. Hands mapping shoulders and jaws with the reverence of survivors. We didn't rush. God, no, not after years of restraint. But in that truck, with Harlan's spirit woven into the night, it felt right. Human. A bridge from the boy I'd been to the man I was becoming, with Ethan as the unexpected span. But bridges have tolls. By December, the whispers started. First from the boosters. Hale's too hands-on. What's his angle? Then the emails. Anonymous. Laced with venom. Careful. Reeves' pet. Some legacies don't need fresh meat. Mia found me staring at one in the office, screen glaring like an accusation. Hate mail? For what? Being good at your job. Worse? I muttered, deleting it with a jab. For being me. Out and proud in a town that still clutches pearls at rainbow flags. She hugged me fierce, all elbows and empathy. Screw him. We've got Ethan in our corner now. Did we? The sponsorship gala loomed. Black tie affair in the new wing. Donors toasting progress over shrimp cocktail. Ethan flew in early, all charm and cufflinks, but I caught the strain. Missed calls piling up, his phone buzzing like a hornet through our prep meetings. Investors, he'd wave off, but his eyes were distant, scanning horizons I couldn't see. The night of the gala, snow dusted the campus like powdered sugar on a risky bet. The wing aglow with chandeliers and hope. I adjusted my rented tux in the mirror. Charcoal, slim cut, a far cry from the hoodies that hid my frame, and wondered if Ethan would notice the effort. He did, finding me in the foyer amid the string quartet swell, his hand at my elbow like it belonged. "You clean up lethal," he murmured, breath warm against my ear. We circulated. Speeches, schmoozing, the dean's toast to visionaries like Mr. Hale and Alex, our steadfast guardian of Harlan's dream. Applause rippled, but as Ethan took the mic, something shifted. His smile too tight, gaze flicking to the back of the room where a cluster of suits huddled, murmuring. Then the bomb dropped. Not with fanfare, but a leaked email chain, forwarded to every phone in the room via some donors group chat. Hale's pulling funding. Board vote tomorrow, too woke for core investors. Reeves program first cut. My blood iced over as heads turned, whispers rising like smoke. Ethan froze on stage, mic in hand, face draining to ash. Alex? He started, voice raw, but the dean was already striding up, face thunderous. What the hell is this? The older man thrust his phone forward, the screen a betrayal in pixels. Ethan's jaw worked, eyes locking on mine across the sea of stunned faces. It's not, I didn't. But the suits at the back were closing in, a gray-haired exec in pinstripes barking. You knew the terms, Hale. No pet projects. This queer outreach? Bad optics. The word landed like a slur, slicing through the polite veneer. Queer. Not reclaimed here, not tonight. My vision tunneled, the room spinning as Mia grabbed my arm. Breathe, Alex. But I was already moving, Tuck's jacket flapping, shoving through the crowd toward the exit. Snow swirled outside, fat flakes clinging to my lashes as I burst into the cold, lungs burning. Footsteps crunched behind me. Alex, wait. Ethan's voice, desperate, coatless in the flurry. He caught my wrist under the portico lights, spinning me to face him. It's a lie. Partial truth. My board's pushing back. Old money bullshit. Saying the program's divisive. But I'm fighting it. Every damn vote. I yanked free, chest heaving, the snow melting cold on my skin. Divisive? That's code for us, Ethan. For what we are. The kiss in the truck, the touches in shadowed corners. They flooded back, tainted now. You froze that first day because you saw him in me, the forbidden fruit. And now, your empire's choking on it. His face crumpled, snow dusting his hair like premature gray. No, I froze because I saw you. Not Harlan's echo, you, Alex. The man who's kept his light burning when I couldn't even strike the match. He stepped closer, voice breaking. I came back for this. For us. But if it costs the kids. God. I won't let it. Betrayal tasted like copper, sharp and metallic. Harlan had taught me to read the play, spot the blitz before it hit. And this was it. Ethan's world colliding with mine, the millionaire's chessboard where pawns like me got sacrificed. You should have thought of that before Unannounced. I spat, turning into the storm. Go fix your board. I'll fix what's left. The door to the wing slammed behind me, sealing him out with the ghosts. Inside, the gala fractured. Cancellations murmured, donors peeling away like autumn leaves. Mia found me later in the empty lounge, curled on a velvet chaise, tucks ruined by melt. He's gone, she said softly, handing me a flask of something fiery. Flew out at dawn. But he left this. She slid an envelope across the table, my name in his precise script. Inside, a proxy letter, dated that morning, assigning me voting rights on the board. Full sway. And a note. Fight with me. Or without. But don't stop shining. Tears blurred the ink, hot and unbidden. Betrayal, yes, but laced with a love fierce enough to risk it all. Harlan's voice echoed in my head. Stand back up, kid. For the kids. For the legacy. For the man who'd frozen time just to see me. Spring thawed the snow into mud, and the fight dragged on. Board meetings in glass towers overlooking Chicago's Loop. Me in my best blazer facing suits who sneered at social experiments. Ethan was a phantom ally, his votes cast via video from boardrooms in Palo Alto. His texts a lifeline, holding the line. Miss your fire. I missed his touch, the way he'd hum off-key to the radio during drives. But pride and pain kept me distant. The program teetered. Clinics paused, scholarships frozen. The kids' faces haunting my dreams, wide-eyed and waiting. Climax hit in May, under relentless sun that baked the new turf. The final vote, all or nothing. I flew to the valley on a red-eye, landing in a world of palm shadows and venture hum, worlds away from Eldridge's heartland grit. The boardroom was sterile, chrome and glass, the execs arrayed like judges. Ethan waited at the head, tie loosened, eyes lighting when I entered. You came. For them, I said, nodding to the proxy in my pocket. But as we sparred, data on graduation rates, testimonials from reformed delinquents turned scholars, the air crackled. One exec, red-faced and retrograde, slammed his fist. This isn't football. This pandering. Gays running drills? It'll tank our brand. Ethan rose, slow and lethal. Our brand? Harlan Reeves built winners from broken boys, gay, straight, doesn't matter. Alex here, he's the proof. And if that's not your vision, gentlemen, there's the door. The room erupted, votes splintered, shouts overlapping. But Ethan's gaze held mine, steady as a huddle call. In that chaos, truth cracked open. His freeze hadn't been fear. It was awakening. To Harlan's unfinished song. To the love we'd all circled but never claimed. The vote swung narrow, bloody, funding intact, the program saved. After, in the parking garage haze, Ethan pulled me into an alcove, concrete cool against my back. I almost lost you, he whispered, forehead to mine, breaths ragged. Lost us. You almost did, I admitted, hands fisting his shirt. But legacies aren't built on almosts. Our kiss was salt and victory, deep and devouring, the kind that mends fractures. No rush, no shadows. Just two men, scarred and whole, stepping into light. Summer bloomed on campus, the wing alive with laughter. Kids drilling under canopies, Mia orchestrating chaos with a whistle. Ethan stayed, trading jets for a lease on a farmhouse overlooking the fields. Roots sinking slow, deliberate. We walked the sidelines at dusk, hands brushing, talking futures. Expansions, maybe a book on Harlan's methods, infused with our truths. Not every story ends in fireworks. Mine didn't. There were nights when grief resurfaced. Harlan's ring glinting on my nightstand. Ethan's arms pulling me through the sobs. Betrayals lingered like bruises. But we tended them, gentle and patient. Humanistic, yeah, in the quiet grace of choosing love over legacy, vulnerability over victory. One evening, as fireflies danced over the practice field, Ethan knelt in the grass. Not with a ring but a worn playbook. Harlan's script faded but fierce. Marry this life with me, he said, voice thick. The program, the kids, us. I pulled him up, kissing the question away. Already have. In America's heartland, where fields stretch endless and secrets bloom like wildflowers, we built on. Not perfect, but real. A sponsor unannounced, a freeze that thawed into forever. And in the roar of young cheers, Harlan smiled. The roar of the crowd hit me like a linebacker before I even saw the man step out of that gleaming black Escalade. Alex, you gotta see this. It's him, whispered Mia from the sidelines, her voice slicing through the pre-game chaos like a referee's whistle. But I was already frozen, heart slamming against my ribs as our eyes locked across the dew-slick field. In that split second, the world narrowed to the way his jaw tightened. The sponsor's polished facade cracking just enough to reveal the ghost of a boy I'd buried with Coach 2 years ago. I never thought grief could ambush you at a tailgate party. But there he was, Ethan Hale, the tech mogul whose name had been splashed across donor plaques for months, striding onto Eldridge University's football field like he owned the turf. And in a way, he did now. The late afternoon sun slanted across the crimson banners flapping in the crisp October breeze, casting long shadows that danced.